Good morning on this Sunday, November 24th, and welcome to the Georgia Gang. The verdict is in, guilty and a life sentence for the killer of nursing student Laken Riley. Also, the Georgia Appeals Court suddenly cancels a hearing on the election interference case against President-elect Trump, and fireworks amid a power struggle at Jonesboro City Hall. Kathy, Phil, Theron, and Martha are all here. The debate and discussion begin right now.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia Gang starts now.
After 3 days of testimony, a judge found Jose Ibara guilty for the murder of Laken Riley. The judge sentenced Ibara to life without the possibility of parole after friends and family members of Riley begged the judge to never let him out of prison.
This sick, twisted, and evil coward showed no regard for Laken or human life. We are asking that same be done to him.
I am haunted by the thought of the fear she must have felt in those final moments, and it breaks my heart knowing that she suffered.
Jose Antonio Ibara has completely and utterly ruined my life, and I can only hope and pray that he receives a sentence that ruins his.
Judge H. Patrick Haggard gave Ibara the maximum sentence, life without parole, after finding him guilty of all 10 charges against him, including malice murder and aggravated assault with intent to rape while Laken Riley ran on UGA's campus in February.
I hope this sentencing sets a precedent so it stops with Laken.
Now, Governor Kemp posted a statement on X saying, though we are glad that justice has been delivered on behalf of Laken Riley, we continue to mourn her loss with her family and friends and know that she should still be with us today. The information revealed in this trial was heartbreaking, and we applaud the bravery of Laken's loved ones for reliving that horrible day to ensure her killer faced the consequences of his senseless actions. President-elect Trump posting also saying, although the pain and heartbreak will last forever, hopefully this can help bring some peace and closure to her wonderful family who fought for justice and to ensure that other families don't have to go through what they have. Darren, we'll start with you this week. The death of Laken Riley became a rallying cry for immigration reform during the presidential election. Ibara and his brothers are illegal immigrants from Venezuela.
Again, like we said last week, my heart goes out to the family. I offer my sincere condolences again. And, you know, it was very hard to hear the horrific details of this murder. And so I said last week that I hope that justice would have been served swiftly, and it was. He's never going to be a free man again in this country. And I think the family, you know, just can't imagine what they're going through, but they've stayed strong, steadfast in making sure that justice was there. And I think that the fact that the governor and the president-elect came out with very strong statements, I agree with everything they said.
Phil?
Well, I agree. It's heartbreaking, and I agree with you that that's tough for the family. But let's put it all in perspective. This is a problem because of the Biden-Harris administration's disgusting open borders policy. The details that came out in the trial, he's a member of that vicious Venezuelan gang along with his brother, and in the apartment complex there are other Venezuelan gang members. They were not here until the last 6 or 7 months. The Homeland Security Agency has said Georgia and 12 other states now have these vicious Venezuelan gangs that have come in. So the death of Laken Riley is right on the Biden-Harris administration. They could stop these flights coming in now. They're not even stopping the flights that they're dropping in people in these various communities. So I think that this is going to continue to be an issue. Yeah, immigration reform would be fine. How about right now shutting down the border? And that's what President Trump is going to do.
Kathy?
Well, we'll see about that. But, you know, I just want to take a moment and say, you know, how grateful I am that justice was served quickly, right? I mean, the GBI and local law enforcement did their job and you know, and found this guy. And, you know, the prosecutors got him to plead guilty so that we could, you know, have quick justice. Because for this family to have something like this that normally, frankly, in our system goes on for years and years and years and lots of painful things, I think this is a good turn of events, and I want to choose to think that this was a good opportunity for people to do their jobs well.
Martha?
2 important points. This is going to be much of the evidence came about because of kind of the digital world we live in. You know, she and her roommate shared their locations. They had Garmin watch that recorded her last heartbeat and her 18-minute struggle. So this is a very interesting case that's going to be looked at for years. But I also want to bring about something that didn't get touched on much, was how the community in that apartment complex, which was largely immigrants, legal and illegal, that came forward and helped in this. And they did it because these two men, as well as other people that were in this gang, had been terrorizing these folks before this horrible thing happened to Lake and Riley, that they came forward because they had been having crimes committed against them by these men. And so this was a community coming together regardless of the status there. And then finally, Lake and Riley's sister looked so much like her, and seeing her standing up there talking about her sister, and it was gut-wrenching. I listened to most of the statements. I sometimes wish I hadn't, but you got to be able to do those things.
Heartbreaking. Theron, I noticed you. Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
Well, I just want to say, Martha, I agree what you said, and I think that one thing that's really important is the fact that the people in that apartment building came forward to law enforcement to share information. Shows
and
how
testified against
and
him.
testifies shows how careful we must be when we target immigrant communities, because there's a lot of fear of deportation and other things, and so it's a fine line that we walk to say we're going to deport people immediately, but then expect that you're going to find out information.
If you're here illegally, you ought to be fearful and go through your proper paperwork channels. I think the incoming Trump administration has warned everybody there's going to be more workplace raids. This is trying to undo 12 years of just open border.
And you're not going to see people come forward with information in trials like this when they think that that's the case. So we must be careful.
If you're an informant, police will protect an informant. But,
well, you got to find that out after the fact.
Well, but I'll tell you what, the deportation has to occur. We cannot have any more Lake and Rileys.
Theron?
Look, I mean, the fact that what Martha just shared, I said this last week, this has torn the Athens community up. I mean, to hear that this was already going on, unfortunately, Lake and Riley's life was lost because this person was not identified as a criminal, as a gang member, and he was running around the streets of Athens. And so, again, I'm not going to make partisan issues out of this. I could respond to some of the things my friend said, but ultimately, I think that this case should not ever happen again, and I think we all got to learn from it.
Well, to that extent, there was a group that came out really putting blame also on the University of Georgia for security lapses, and I thought that was very unfair. I want to get y'all's take just on that, what you thought about the university system and the security. I mean, this happens anywhere and everywhere.
I think the security system, I mean, honestly worked. I mean, because they had cameras and they had things out there that were available not only on the track, but around, they were able to quickly solve this. So I think it's unfair too.
Phil?
You know, this goes actually to tort reform, what we're going to be discussing in the General Assembly in January. The premises liability, just because it was on the University of Georgia campus, you could get a lawsuit, and I agree with Martha. I think they've upgraded, according to media reports, the security and cameras and lights in recent years. But yeah, it's unfair, Lori. I agree with you.
Kathy?
Well, there's not enough security in the world that's going to stop somebody from killing somebody in
a sociopath
in 18 minutes, right? I mean, this guy was out there stalking other women all morning until Lake and Riley happened to cross his path, and I'm not sure having it on camera would have stopped the incident, but one would hope that maybe it would have.
All right, we'll leave it there, folks. Up next, a surprising turn of events in the Fulton County election interference case against President-elect Trump and several co-defendants.
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Email them at georgiagang@foxtv.com.
A Georgia appeals court on Monday canceled oral arguments that were scheduled for next month on the appeal of a lower court ruling allowing Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to continue to prosecute the election interference case she brought against President-elect Donald Trump and other co-defendants. Phil, what is your reading on this?
I think it's actually good news for the Trump team because they call it an election interference case. Actually, as we've discussed on the show before, it's actually the anti-racketeering law in the state that's being used used by DA Fonnie Willis and her prosecutors. And you've heard me say this, there's a lot of legal experts on both sides of the political aisle that say that's been a shaky case. That's not why the RICO statute was for. It's for murderers and mafia types. And so I think the legal defense team for Trump is saying get rid of the whole thing. It should be dismissed. I think it should be, and I think maybe you'll see that.
Kathy, do you think that's the direction we're heading?
I don't know. It's sure enough messy now. That's what I would say. I think you've got a couple things. You've got people who've already pled guilty. You've got people who are not getting ready to be president, who are, kind of waiting in the middle of that. So I think what the judge comes up with is going to have to address a number of those concerns. And so it might be that President-elect Trump finds his way out of this, but I'm not sure. I think that
he may have to pardon everybody.
Well, I don't know.
can't pardon the state
We'll see what happens.
Exactly.
But,
state charges.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah, I know.
This
If
is
there's
a
a
long
federal,
story.
no, you're right.
All right, well, moving on. Attorney General Chris Carr has made it official. This week he announced he will run for governor in 2026, Martha.
Yeah, I mean, not a surprise. He's trying to get in there and be able to raise as much money as he can through that. And look, he's couching himself as the person to continue the legacy of Sonny Perdue, Nathan Deal, and Brian Kemp. And, he's going to try to get a head start.
What do you think, Theron?
Well, what's interesting is that, we've not surprised that Attorney General Chris Carr wants to be governor of Georgia, and he's been making the rounds, talking to Republicans, talking to other folks about why he should be governor. Now, he's never until now come out and said, hey, I'm an official candidate. I think the challenge for the Attorney General, he knows this, is that how does he break through in a sort of Republican control primary voting bloc that is dominated by Donald Trump? And that's going to be the test. How supportive are the Trump initiatives? And so I think he's going to bring a level of civility to that argument. But, you got Burt Jones out there who's probably definitely going to run. I'll leave that up to Phil and Martha.
Probably definitely.
Probably definitely. I love that.
Definitely is going to run. But the thing about him announcing the timing of it, I think he's got to have some data and some type of gut feeling to say, I better get out here now and start campaigning as a candidate.
And raising money. We all know you're coming up that deadline when the session starts.
And I was going to get to that, Martha. Thank you for always, knowing my thoughts and getting me
We're
there.
right here. We're right here.
Yeah, we're stuck together for a long time. But no, yeah, that's exactly it. Raising money, raising profiles, and trying to pick up endorsements, people who he can sort of present his case to.
Phil?
Well, I think you're making some good points, the money raising and the endorsements and things like that to get out early, because the Jones campaign will be well funded. He is the lieutenant governor, and I think if he has a good session, that'll make him look good. I do think that Chris Carr maybe should have followed Governor Kemp's route to unifying the party, because as we all know, Governor Kemp and President-elect Trump formed an alliance that was very effective. The Attorney General did not go to a lot of the Trump events. He could have at least shown up to some of these things, and Trump world didn't like that. And so, yeah, Theron, you're right. There's is there a path for him to get in there? Now, if there's a multi-candidate primary, that could be very interesting, because who knows what votes will be siphoned off from others.
Kathy, you can weigh in on Chris Carr, but we're also waiting to hear about the Democrats.
Thousands on the Republican side. I think Democrats haven't quite decided what's going to happen. We're too busy shooting at each other right now. Yeah. But I think that it'll be really interesting, because he's up against a bunch of millionaires. He's going to have to, maybe even a billionaire. He's going to have to raise an awful lot of money and continue to defend his record as we go forward, like not getting rid of the members of the SEB, trying to uphold the abortion ban, other things that are going to come back and peel off some people.
All right, well, since you mentioned it, let's talk about it. Democrats in Georgia continue to argue over the party's leadership. According to the AJC, House Minority Leader Carolyn Hughley said that she was very disappointed that Senator Jon Ossoff maneuvered behind the scenes to pressure Congresswoman Nikema Williams to step down as chairwoman of the state party. Theron, this is getting pretty messy.
So I'm going to do something today. I think that Democrats, where we are now, look, we had to get this out. We had to talk about the future of the party. Jon Ossoff did what he did. Nikema did what she did. Now our leader, Carolyn Hughley, in the Minority Caucus, leader-elect, is done what she said. And it's no surprise. I said this off the set, when you guys were done. You're like, oh my God, why are you coming out sort of saying that there's some people that believe what I believe, that it was not what he said. And it was, many of us agree that we need new leadership, but it was how he did it. But I do think that leader Hughley knows what she's got to do. She's got to unite her caucus. What she did say, that part didn't get played. If you listen to her Politically Georgia statement in this totality, she does talk about unity. She does talk about making sure that we push issues that matter to Georgia voters. She also says she likes Jon Ossoff and likes some of the things that he's done and actually looks forward to working with him. But we will get past this. There's a meeting as we tape that's happening this weekend. The executive committee will meet to talk about the bylaws moving forward. This may be, Kathy, may be a paid position. You and I both like make money legally and ethically in this state. Not saying that you may be a candidate or I may be a candidate, but I think that you'll come out of this weekend with more unity going forward.
Martha, you could weigh in here.
Yeah, I mean, my big concern is the kind of maneuvering to get her out, this presentation that Ossoff was maneuvering, because he was making a phone call to the head of the party that wasn't supposed to become public. And I know we've talked about how you should expect everything to be public, but at the same time, there has to be a safe space for people to have these kinds of conversations without them being leaked to the press. And that's my biggest issue for this, because I think he tried to be a gentleman in how he approached this, and then it got put out there. But, you know, bottom line is, far be it from me to tell Democrats how to do things better. I am perfectly fine with the position they are in right now.
Kathy, I need you to weigh in here.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think Martha and Theron have done a great job of sort of describing what actually happened, right? It was a private phone call, it got leaked, everybody's feelings got hurt, then people kept talking. And that's where we need to stop, because Jon Ossoff, you know, he's young. Sometimes he comes across a little bit too much of a big old senator, you know, when he calls people on the phone. And he needs to learn. He needs to learn how to handle people's feelings, especially people who are, you know, working hard and trying to do the right thing. But let me be clear to Democrats. He is a good senator. I have lived a lifetime of Georgia senators who have disappointed me in their votes, and he has not. He has money, and until we come up with a candidate to replace him that can raise more money than Brian Kemp at this point, this is not the race for us to be picking on.
All right.
Well
I'm leaving it there. Sorry, Phil. You cannot weigh in on the Democrats because we're out of time. So up next, another messy situation, this time in Jonesboro, as a screaming match erupts at City Hall among elected officials.
Join the discussion on the Georgia Gang Facebook page and watch past episodes on the Georgia Gang YouTube channel.
Until you can learn to quit bullying counseling.
I'm not bullying. I'm not bullying. If y'all can stop being so racist, maybe I wouldn't have to. Yeah, you're right. Here we go. Let's expose what you all said behind closed doors, little cowards.
Well, bad blood has been brewing for more than a year between Jonesboro's mayor and a majority of city council members. And during a recent meeting, as you heard, those tensions spilled into public view with a full-blown shouting match. Elected officials accused the mayor of bullying and cussing at employees, with the mayor firing back that some of her colleagues are, quote, racist and little cowards. All right, who wants to take this one? Theron, any insight?
Well, you know, this is interesting because this was a historic moment in Jonesboro. This is the first ever African-American woman elected as mayor. This is a mayor who has, if you talk to her, these are her words, not mine, has sort of faced resistance since her election. She admits that she did refer to them as racist, but she talks about how there's just been an unwillingness to work with her. And then there's going to be an election next year. A lot of these council members who haven't, you know, really had a chance to defend themselves and push forth. But I think the ultimate losers here are the people of Jonesboro, city of Jonesboro. They elect these leaders to get along and to try to move forward the business. So I hope that this mayor and the city manager and the council will work together to put the public safety, the education, the health care, the basic services of Jonesboro first, rather than this infighting.
Well, this is quite nasty, Phil.
Well, it is, and it's a sad commentary. And I know the Georgia Municipal Association actually, maybe they need an intervention here, because they do stress to be civil. You can have very sharp philosophical disagreements, personnel problems, etc. But I agree with you, Theron. They need it's a terrible image for Jonesboro and Clay County, and they ought to remember that. There ought to be no cussing. There ought to be strong disagreements, but you've got to do your votes and take it from there. So hopefully they'll clean up their act.
Kathy?
Two comments. One, you know, I've presided over some tough situations as president of the Atlanta City Council and also at the Fulton County Board of Elections. And you only lead with the permission of the people you are leading. You can't demand it. You can't cuss it. You can't call names. You can't hit your gavel enough times. And so people who are in these positions, like the mayor in College Park, here, other places, you know, really have to learn that you're going to have to suck it up a little bit and then, you know, continue on and follow by the rules. Second thing, heard them talking about group emails to make decisions. That is against the Open Records Act. You cannot have conversations with a quorum of your legislative body or your elected body to make decisions prior to coming to a meeting. So folks who live there, you ought to be paying attention to that. Somebody needs to do an open records request and find out more about these emails.
Really good point. Martha, I know that sometimes some of you on this panel might want to cuss at each other every once in a while, but y'all are civil.
That's right. I mean, look, it kind of reminds me of the old before cameras times, because municipal debates have always been kind of fiery, okay, up until the more recent times where everything's on video and audio. So this kind of was a throwback to the way old things were, but look, they've got to be more civil to each other, and you can disagree agreeably. I mean, I had Michelle out on with me for an hour yesterday. We discussed a wide range of topics that we did not agree on, and we had a great time.
All right. Well, moving on, MARTA and Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens have reached a deal on how to proceed when it comes to the massive renovation of the 5 Points MARTA station. Theron, this was a long time coming.
Yeah, and it's a great victory for the state of Georgia, the region, and I want to make MARTA and the city of Atlanta winners. Look, let's not sugarcoat it. There was definitely some pushback from Mayor Andre Dickens about the plan and how MARTA needed to move forward, but I also just want to thank MARTA and colleague Greenwood and others for staying there and really getting in a room and getting a private conversation, talking to the mayor about how we can work together to make sure that 5 Points is revitalized, make sure it's enhanced, and not just for the World Cup, but for all these businesses. You know, Chris Womack, got to give him a shout out. He's leading the Metro Chamber as the chair of the board. The Metro Chamber did a wonderful job this week of talking about revitalizing downtown and making sure that downtown is not only a place where people go for sporting events and then they leave. No, we want people to live in downtown. And so this MARTA station, this pivotal connecting station, is going to be so important moving forward.
Phil, you want to weigh in quickly?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a good thing that's going to happen. We need to revitalize 5 Points, make it look really nice. I would say that the mayor, Andre Dickens, and of course the CEO Greenwood, they did calm it down. They took it into the public forum and were criticizing one another, which really hampered things. Finally, it was smoothed over, so all is well.
All right, Phil, just back to you, because I know you want to talk about the Cobb County Sheriff. And was it Burger King?
Yeah, what happened was he had
Burger King Gate.
You remember we talked about it a few weeks ago. He got his order messed up at Burger King and got upset and tried to, actually, in my opinion, bully the people there. But the overall point was it was an official sheriff's department Facebook page where you have comments on it. And so if you're going to have an official page, you're going to have comments, unless they're obviously libelous or violent. So either have the page or don't have the page. They shut it down. Now there's no comments.
So look, I talked to the sheriff about this, and for those of us who know Sheriff Owens, let me tell you something. This guy is a honorable man who got reelected with 56% of the vote in Cobb County. I don't want to get into what happened. I mean, look, he definitely did what he felt was the protocol. There was an incident involving his wife. He reported it. People came in. This was not an abruptive, aggressive sheriff. He handled it. And as far as the comments,
3 police cars coming to Burger King? Come on.
So I think this is well overplayed, and I think that the sheriff has been advised to kind of move on from this and honestly do the job that he needs to do to protect the people of Cobb County. And so I'm happy that he's got reelected. Shout out, Sheriff. We're going to go and break some bread, and maybe we'll invite Phil to come along with us.
Well,
get a Whopper.
Yeah,
there's
we'll
a
get a
theme
Whopper.
here. Cameras everywhere.
Right.
On a lot of the subjects we're talking, there's a theme here.
Good point. All right, coming up, winners and losers. Stay tuned.
Time now for the week's winners and losers.
Yeah.
Well, first, I got to give a happy birthday to Phil. Theron, I know you want to sing to him, but we'll move on.
No singing.
I'll give you the Stevie Wonder verse. Yeah, you got to follow along.
Also, I had the chance to attend the Faith Bridge Foster Care Gala Thursday evening. Thank you to Leslie and Walter Kurtz for the invite. They are longtime fans of the Georgia Gang. And congratulations to the man behind the organization, Mr. Rick Jackson, who told a touching story of growing up in foster care and how that experience inspired him to help so many others. It was a great night. Lots of who's who there. Chancellor Sonny Perdue was there, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. It was nice to see them all embracing foster care. Theron.
My first winner is going to be Paul Zuka. I've been doing politics in the city now for over 20 years, but Paul Zuka was a known name in the neighborhood. Margaret Kaiser and others all came together to memorialize his legacies. I'm going to miss him. Also, I want to give a shout out to Byron Amos, who was reappointed at the National League of Cities and the Board of Directors. And also, I want to give a huge shout out to my Clark Atlanta University Panthers. Panthers. My football team made it to the SIAC championship, though we did not win. Shout out to the students there, our new coach and the athletic staff. And then lastly, huge shout out to DeKalb County Commissioner Michelle Long Spears. Y'all have read about this. DeKalb County broke a round of new state-of-the-art $4.1 million for a state-of-the-art animal shelter. You know, we have a lot of dog lovers in the state.
Yes.
So shout out to the commissioner.
And on this panel.
Yep.
Phil?
Yeah, Paul Zucker was a good one.
man.
We didn't want to miss him. He was a great civic leader. I've got a winner is Israel, because they can get some weapons sales this past week. The losers are Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, the two Democrat senators who incredibly voted against weapons sales in 2 votes this past week. And most Democrats, to their credit, along with all Republican senators, voted for the weapons sales. Here's the Jewish state, our closest ally in the Mideast, getting stabbed in the back by 2 Georgia senators. Unbelievable.
All right, Kathy.
2 things. On the winner's side, I just want to give a shout out to Glenn Samuels. He plays the devil in Heaven Bound, which is an annual performance at Big Bethel AME. My mom is a big fan of his, having gone. And the devil in this show tries to tempt people, you know, into his world who are on their way to heaven. He was sitting outside a bar and grabbed me, so I don't know what was going on. Secondly, my losers, the Georgia Maternal Mortality Review Committee fired all their members because the director, Kathleen Toomey, couldn't figure out who leaked the results of the 2 people who died as a result of not being able to get abortion care. We ought to devote a whole thing about the secrecy of this committee and why we can't get information. It is quite unusual the way Georgia does it, and who knows who's on the committee? We don't even know who got fired. They're the losers.
We'll put that on the radar. Okay, Martha.
So again, I just want to send condolences out to the family of Laken Riley. I mean, we cannot remember that too often because we can never forget that. And then the winner this week, Brian Kemp, became head of the Republican Governors Association, and we'll be looking at all of that.
All right, make it a great week. See you next time.